Samhain, Ia Hauna. I don't really want to talk about ghouls or spirits or bonfires or trick-or-treating, although I suppose we ought to acknowledge here that Samhain, or Halloween, was definitely the quarter-day festival marking the start of winter, when the harvest is all in and the foliage dies back, animal life dwindles, and harsh frosts and withering winds begin to bite. But what I really want to touch on is the idea of thresholds. Our ancestors consciously built into the year these times where we could reconnect to something bigger and grander than our own little dramas. Periods and events where we can reset ourselves, replenish our stores, our hearts and minds, and redirect ourselves once again towards our true course in life. That's a little bit new age though, isn't it? Yet it's also precisely what every one of us would like, isn't it? It's why people go to health spas or beach holidays or hiking or out on a bender even. We feel that we need to take stock and reorient ourselves. And Samhain, rather than being like, say, a health spa, a profit-orientated, market-driven, superficially therapeutic business enterprise, well, it's something else entirely. So what do we need at this time? What do we need? To focus on what matters, really. To stop being distracted by what are actually largely irrelevancies. To pan out and get a wider sense of who we really are. To remember that while outside all is busy and rushed and chaotic, there's also the counter view, the alternative perspective, wherein we exist in a timeless internal realm in which we are, energy. Just that, energy. Some elemental state that is basic, but also infinite. We're consciousness, currently inhabiting a physical body. That's all that's really known. And again, it sounds new age. But it's just what mankind has always believed. That there were other aspects to us that we didn't usually have access to. Yet, at one time of the year, we do have access. We can reach through the veil and make contact with a wider realm of that consciousness or awareness. And that time is now, Samhain. It seems that our ancestors regarded Samhain as the end of one year and the beginning of another, the equivalent of our New Year's Eve. In the same way, they believed that night preceded day, not the other way around as we have it now. The long hours of darkness gave way to the birth of dawn each morning. Samhain meant the beginning of a period of great darkness, with nature withering on the stalk and the sun weakening and spending ever more time below the horizon in the underworld. Darkness grows more powerful as it eats up more of the day, and it's fueled and strengthened by having the sun captured in its underworld realm, so it becomes emboldened. And then the creatures from the underworld and the other world are able to access our world more easily. They creep in, especially at night. And a transition point like Samhain, which is neither summer nor winter, but in between, beyond time, is the perfect opportunity. So this is why now is such a valuable moment for us. The natural order of things is thrown into disarray in these between times. The world of the living and the dead become closer. They intermingle almost. The oppressive strictures of linear time are weakened, and we get access to insight and energies that we wouldn't normally have. This is why prophecy is such a key part of Samhain. What else is the ring in the barn brack for except to prophesize who will get married? The time-space continuum is weaker, and we can peek through it so that you know that the bean in the barn brack predicts a single life, and the stick, if found by a man, means that he'll be a miserable old bachelor. An apple, paired into a single pairing and dropped to the floor, revealed your future beloved in the initials spelled out by the pairing. There are so many ways to see the future. Girls used to enter cabbage patches and grab a cabbage each. If it had a bent stalk, she'd marry a hunched man. And if the stalk was straight, she'd marry a tall, well-poised one. Another trick involves placing 2 hazelnuts in the fire grate. The nuts will soon begin to char and sizzle. If one hops off like popcorn, it predicts a broken relationship. If the pair burn away together, it means a long-lasting match. There was another game in which you poured hot lead through a rusty key held over a pan of water, and the shape it congeals into in the water form the initial of a future husband or wife. But it wasn't only being able to see into the future. Samhain was seen as a liminal time, when the boundary between this world and the other world could more easily be crossed. It was a threshold through which the fairies could more easily come into our world. This may seem fanciful now, until we remember that the fairies are likely to have been remnants of the pagan gods and nature spirits who occupied the land for millennia. Being able to access them was a powerful and potent thing. It's why my grandmother used to leave a plát de chealaí, a witch's plate of food, on the windowsill for the otherworldly beings, in case they got hungry while crossing into our world. Portions of the harvest crop would also have been left in the ground for these otherworldly beings. Alongside these fairies were ghosts, ghouls, pookas, and shapeshifters. It's why we still today disguise ourselves as the dead or evil spirits and head out into the night roaming the roads, so that then if we actually encountered another worldly being, they'd think we were one of them and pass right by. It was thought wise to offer these spirits food too, like my granny's plát de chealaí, which is why you can still today turn up as a ghost on any doorstep in Ireland and be given free sweets and nuts. But remember, my granny's plate, the plát de chealaí, was specifically for the Cailleach, the most powerful force of all, the matriarchal spirit, the dark aspect or the shadow side of the bright Mother Earth goddess. It was possible for her to sneak across the barrier between worlds at this time too, which is why the witch is still such a central character in Halloween, even today. A monstrous ancient female goddess supposed to have created the landscape and unloosed the rivers and thought, in some traditions, to be responsible for winter. So what do we do with all this now? Package it up for gormless tourists? File it away under old folklore? Give it to our kids as quaint myth and legend? I actually think it's quite valuable. To me, anyway. I feel lost in so much of this chaotic, alienating world. And as I race around trying to get through each day, I know that there is a grander vision, a more rooted, stable me who sees things differently, who isn't constantly reacting to each new stimulus, but has a plan and even some wisdom. And I know that if only I take the time to tune into that, I can reach through and get access to so much guidance and support and wisdom from deep inside or beyond. I'm not exactly sure where, to be honest, but I know I can connect to it if I take the time and make the effort. And I find it enormously helpful that our culture has built in these periods of the year to do this work, to set aside the claustrophobic narrowness of reality and to imagine wider realms. Samhain. Let's not let the opportunities it offers us slip by.